So this morning I've been blocking out the front panels, top panels, and just cleaning them up. You can see I did decide to put an edge on there so that panel terminates there rather than wrapping around the corner. And basically blocking them out, cleaning them up, straightening, a little bit of filler wherever the voids were. You can see that I've got where the air, well, it's hard to see when it's wet. You can see it in there. When you get down to the cloth, if you expose the cloth, it sucks that stuff up. It raises the cloth a little bit, so on and so forth. So that's why I want to do surfacer on all of this. I just want to get this all blocked down. So the plan will be to vinyl this, of course. And again, that vinyl will wrap in, go into here a half an inch or so and be tucked all in there. There'll be foam on, just a light amount of foam on this surface. And I want it to terminate at that edge right there, that small bead right there. The foam to come up, and then I want to lay it in flat on top of the bead, these two beads. And maybe I have to put foam on this one. Now, I don't know yet. Because see, you can see that it comes back and it is actually lower than this here. So I'll have to think all that through. I'll have to think it all through. But anyway, that's what I was thinking, and then keep it nice and tight on the sides. No foam on this surface. No foam on this surface. And put the seam up into the foam so you can hide it. That was kind of the plan. I just thought of that right now. Wait a minute, I got to change an elevation here that I wanted to keep. So I'll have to think that through. We could obviously drift the foam to 0 on that edge. There's a number of different ways of doing it, but it's got to look good. Anyway, they're turning out really good. I'll block them out, and where I have little pinholes and it's fiberglass, so areas to straighten out, I'll do that. So I'll jump on, well, I got to put the third coat on there, and then I'm going to jump on these. Again, when you sand it down, you can't feel anything, but if you expose any of that mat, it just sucks it in. But this one took a beating. Sorry about that if you hear the wisp. I got my mask on. So, that'll require filler. I filled in these areas, even though most of this is getting cut out. I just want a nice flat surface in here, so I'm filling in those areas as well. And just basically cleaning them up. There's it's resin covered. A piece of 3/8 resin covered plywood turned on edge, basically cut to the same size, and I'll just fill in the ends. So, got those strips made. I think I might have already shown that. And then, of course, all of these are done. Waiting to be sized and cut to fit into the door panels. Well, folks, it's been a day, that's for sure. There's the centerpieces. Those go on the doorpost between the doors. So if that's the front door panel, this goes right behind it. Right? Just to transition the 2-inch space on the doorpost from the front to the back. These are all completed, cleaned up, pinholes filled, blocked out, and now the second, I put 2 coats of surfacer on them again. So those are done. These are the rear panels. You can see it just is so difficult because they fill with sanding dust and stuff. You blow them off and they fill up again. It's just so much easier to hit the major spots, sand it out, and hit it with surfacer, and then come back and spray another coat on. And so these are first coated. I just finished those and those recently. These I got all finished up earlier this morning. And they They turned out really good. They're ready for the wrap now for vinyl and all that. But the next stage now is to trim those panels, cut these out, trim the panels to fit inside there, and start with fitment method. You can see these are rounded now on the back because all of the posts or the jambs and the front and the rear stand out 3/8 of an inch, and I may have covered that, but see, they stand out 3/8 of an inch. So needless to say, this is the rear panel. That's the upholstered side. They'll stand out. So rather than trim them closer to the door and lose features on them, I'm radiusing them in. So there's a lot of work to do on them, but everything's turning out great. Hopefully by tomorrow for me, moments later for you, you'll see what they look like installed. Okay, got these 4 done. Not blocked out. I didn't block them out again. I'm just leaving them and let the primer shrink, right? And so now we're going to go to work on trimming these for the appropriate panel. Those are discrete, 4 different shapes each. You know that. If you've been watching the video, you know that. Anyway, so now we have to cut out the real estate that we don't need in those. I just laid down the so I blocked these out, everything out here. Yesterday was the first coat block, filled the pinholes and laid down the first coat. It'll probably be 2 coats. I'll just drain the gun on it. But just finishing that up, I can see that I got a little too much on there. The nice thing about Surfacer though is that you know, you can block it out really easily before you seal it up and paint it. In this case, of course, I want the porosity of the Surfacer because the vinyl will stick to it really well. You can see the contour I put on the rear. These are the far rear, so that 3/8 inch delta then is taken up when the door shuts, and then it contours back and rolls over. And that's just taking some time and being somewhat meticulous about how that shape should look. Holy cow. Another big sag. Man, I got learning. Anyway, so yeah, there's no sag on this side. I started on that end. Anyway, no big deal. Oh, I got a huge one right there with some fish eyes. So we'll get these sprayed out and let them sit and dry, and get on to those. These, of course, will be easy. They're just blanks. I'm not going to do the cup holders. Went through that. Maybe I went through that in video, but I'm not doing the cup holders in there. That's too much. And considering this is a hot rod, maybe I have 4 people actually in it, you know, it filled for a fun ride or a parade or something like that. But the reality is it isn't going to be for a trip to Florida, right? You know, it just isn't going to happen that way. So I'm not going that route. That's my logic. Anyway, we'll keep plugging away. Okay. We're back at the counter now. I've sorted, meticulously sorted. But in reality, I want to get started on this. So what I have done is went to the door and I placed this in this case, I'm on the driver's front. And I wanted to locate where the original, we'll look on the passenger door here, mount was. This well nut or a rib nut for the original style hinge. There's minor differences. That's for a newer model. However, I wanted to look at whether the opportunity was to continue to use that, or if I need to cut it out and, weld in a piece of metal, re-drill a hole, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we've certainly got, since we lined everything out in the original design, taking advantage of this recess, I've got plenty of opportunity. I mean, again, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches out to get into that chunk of real estate. But if I can use this, because I took the time to locate those on every door, there might be some variation in the panels, the inserts. And that's one of the reasons why I filled in, if you recall, on the original mold, I filled in that center strip. Okay. Now I built it so that I would minimize the amount of effort going into identifying squareness. So that's why I put the bridges on the side, so that I would, with certainty, I put the shelves going up, I would with certainty have one square side, I guess, essentially, at minimum. And, originally I was looking for all square sides, but in the case of this, you can see where that's been cut off. This is the square edge. So because that's a nice flat and square edge, I have the opportunity now to locate that. So what I did was I bolted in one of the handles, and I visually located that hole in the panel. I visually located the hole on the door, and now I wanted to know, if I line everything up, square this out, how far away I am on the square edge to trimming. So I drew a line right there. Now there's still work to do on this, but I drew a line, and it gets narrower here. So I was a little out of square on this, but the reality is that I can get this material, all this material, to fit in, and I don't have to encroach on this area with this radius, because if I move down here, there's that edge. I know it's at a bit of a slope, but my farthest edge is still way away where it flattens out. So that was the reason I filled in the middle area of the mold, and I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to have some movement. As long as I had one square edge, I could make this work. And as long as I left enough material, if you remember, it was like 1/2 inch. And looking underneath, there it is. I can consume that, trim off the front, and get these in. So my plan is to clean this off, take probably the average of this, measure the distance here, measure the distance there, and take the average and trim that off of there. And once I've done that, then I can begin opening up this hole to accommodate all of the screws. I have to come up with a plan for retaining the front. So I have some ideas, maybe a Z clip bonded onto here, and a slot where it goes in, locks in there, and then this bolt then will hold the rest of it in. So this could be removed from inside the car by just simply removing that retaining screw or bolt. So I'm starting with one door. I'll mock it all the way up, all the way through, and we'll see what the results are. Probably want to save that for now. Let's pull you out. Okay, so took that edge off. Let's back up here. Okay. I might mark the corner of this piece, identified where to trim. Again, I haven't cut the bottom, I did cut the top. And I'm trying to slowly, this has a slight taper. All these edges have a slight taper inward. And so in that regard, I'm going to switch hands here and try to make a sandwich here. Well, I moved it a little bit, but basically want to clear all the studs and the switch pocket. So now that I've accomplished that, actually I could take this on. I'm going to come back because I need to know. I'll come right back. Okay. So now we've got an even gap all the way across here. I'm tapered in, sighted down, lined up with the two lines. And we can see that all that will go in. So now I'm going to lay it up against my coffee cup. Okay. Grab hopefully the correct handle. And that's not. That's the story of my life. I'm forever grabbing the wrong. There we go. That's not. That's the same handle. So now I will get it right. Okay. And with this placed in, okay, I'm clearing everything. That handle will go in. Clearly the switch will go in with that cutout. So I guess it's time to kind of anchor it to the door. I'm going to put 2 screws in it. Just to see how well I did, because I still have adjustment. I still have adjustment back and forth. You know what? I'm going to put you on the stand. Another pause. Okay. I still have adjustment on front to back. So I might as well take advantage of that, right? So make sure we're fully seated. One more screw. Okay. And I'm going to pop that cap off. Come out of there. So now that I have that hole exposed, right? Get this cap in a safe place. Go over to the driver's side front door. OMG. All right, so then we'll turn the light on. I need to grab a socket. In my socket wrench. Thought it was a 7/16, didn't bother me. Okay. I don't know how much of that you can see. Then I'm going to line up my locating holes. I'm going to get this out of the way right now. Line up my locating holes there, and there. The May. Right there and there. And we'll hit it. We will hit it. That's just wonderful. Now, there might be a little bit of work on depth. You know, where this and this. I'm assuming it'll be a gap. I don't know because this is, of course, on the surface. If it's not a gap, I could take a little bit of material off of here. All depends on what it looks like, right? How deep that is. I did some preliminary testing and measuring, and this should, in theory, this should be above this surface slightly. So where we're left right now is for me to measure the channel depth here, the width of the channel, rip this side, and then carefully cut the pattern out on the ends. I've got a paper pattern of this door, so once I get to that part, I can simply overlay it, draw it, scratch it out. This gets wrapped with vinyl again. This is painted. So we're on the road. We are making good, I don't even know if you can see anything that I was talking about, but I'll measure the width of the channel. Lay my paper pattern over, cut the ends off, and we should be on the road. The upholsterer says if I can fit a penny in here, I've never measured a penny, but if I can fit a penny in there, then that's enough for the vinyl. And so, you know, I'll give it whatever that is, you know, 1/8 of an inch. It seems to me to be wide. So, you know, 3/32, 3/64, I guess, something like that. Anyway, we're going to get after it. I'm getting excited. All right. There we have one complete cutout insert. It'll accommodate the vinyl. There's, you know, a penny's worth of gap. This is a little more, this radius is a little tighter. This is more of a chamfer on the top. That was part of the mold and part of the way I wanted to do it. This is a little tighter, got a radius on it, but it sits just under the surface. When the vinyl, he's going to give it some elevation. You know, I'm assuming about a penny's worth. And that's about a little better than 1/8 of an inch straight on. So nice and consistent. Kind of hard to see, but nice and consistent. And now I just have to copy that 3 more times, 6 more times, but of course the rear ones I don't have to do any locating. So there we go. Process gets easier once you do one. Yeah, I got stuff all over me. This frickin' fiberglass. Oof the May. Did all my cutouts over the garbage. Had to do some, you know, a little bit of relief cutting because I wanted to stay away from the standoffs. I took one and I started shaving the standoffs a little bit, but the key to this whole thing is getting it to sit flat, completely flat. So now it is. I got all of them completed for shape. You know, they're still going to need a little bit of work. I mean, where in this case, the gel coat cracked out right there. You know, those kinds of things. Not the bodywork part isn't that big of a deal. So now we move on to anchoring. I did get it to locate, and I was just a skosh off, and it would have worked anyway. I slotted a hole on just a little bit on one, but the problem is it stands out too far, farther than I anticipated. So I'm going to need to, I might even need to do a pocket in here. One thing that I didn't predict is that as this sits in there, let's see the front of it, that this edge actually comes in contact with the panel. It's lower than that panel just because of how it sits in there. You know, it sits in there at a bit of an angle. So now I got to monkey around with, you know, whatever I'm going to do there, whether I, you know, obviously if I could take a little off of here, that's an opportunity, but they're still out from the door, slightly out from the door. Slightly, about 1/8 of an inch, I suppose. I'd expect about 1/8 of an inch, which when you look at the material, this is the one that's the one I just opened the hole up on. And just to see, you know, I got material in there all the way around it, and I stopped and I said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I did get it in and it worked great, but then the panel was too far. I couldn't lock this in. So, and 1/8 of an inch is about the thickness of that material. So that isn't going to work. I'm not going to stand these out any farther. I like the recess. I mean, I'm gonna elevate the thickness of the vinyl, but I do like the fact that it's recessed slightly, and I like that. I'm almost thinking it'd be cool to trim them out in chrome, or brushed aluminum or something. I think that'd be kind of cool, just to make a small piece and then bond it on. But at the moment, that's just my mind racing. Right now, I need to focus on the mounting, and I'm going to do that. Well, well, well. Look, I got it. You can see it on the underside of that curve. That's just taped on, but there's fiberglass material there. We'll have to address that and explain it. Got a carbon copy of it right there. Right there. It's new fiberglass. So I had that panel on this door upside down with the door handle when I trimmed them. Came to start doing the installation, and well, figured the door handle upside down won't do it. In traditional thinking, I've been fighting this all the way through. Made one of those wrong, and whatever. Just it went on and on and on and on and on. Each panel is unique to a door because it's suicide door. So that handle and that handle are the same, and as is on this side. Now, that stands to reason, right? Right side, left side. And for whatever reason, I was thinking that the opposing handles needed to be on. And that's failed me all the way through in every portion of this build. But needless to say, I got it resolved. I got the gaps for the windlace taken care of, the center pieces. Go back and look at the other side again. I mean, it looks just stellar. Put the radius on here, both sides. Remember I was talking about the panel standing out just a little bit so that, instead of a sharp edge, that dresses that up. Just really looks good. It really, really, really looks good. So I'm happy with that. Now it's, I got to obviously get these out and block them down. I mean, they're pretty clean because they came out of a mold. Of course, with that work, I'll have to block them down, but I'll have to block them down smooth. There's some, if you remember right, there was some, maybe I can zoom. Can I zoom? Yeah, there. Perfect. De-wetting or whatever happened in the mold. That's not, really a big of a deal. And so the calling is, what should I do with these? Should they be painted the color of the dash, or should they be wood grained to match the accents on the dash? And that's something that I got to continue to think about. But what is certain is that they work. They work great. Where is it we at here? They're tight, nice and tight to the door. Nothing's gonna interfere with them. The seats, take up that range. The front seats take up that range. The back seat is static. It's not movable. It takes up the back. Everything's coming along. I have to remember to get the seat belt mounts, and I really think I'm going to just forego the, just do the lap, forego the shoulder, because no matter what I do, it would have to be back of the post. right? And although that's not a huge issue, but it would be hanging down into the doorway. If that were the hinge side, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's not. You're gonna, as soon as you open the door, it's gonna be, glaring at you right there. I'll probably get the entire assembly and monkey around a little bit with it, but I do need to get them before I start to, probably before I put the top panel in, because if I do go with them, and I'm just thinking I'm not, but I haven't won it. It's a 1x2 up there. It's I got 1 inch of height, and I just don't think it's going to look good. But we'll check. Of course, in the back we got plenty of room up in that area, so I'll get them, mock the seats up in it, and get things figured out. But this portion was time consuming. It was very time consuming, and then involved some rework. But these panels are ready to clean up now and decide what I want to do with them. And that's down the road, because those are final assembly type deals. But man, they worked out great.